That's
Ain't haircut after haircut.
okay.
Go.
So we're starting Yites Amud Aleph Abai Amar. It's the middle of the page. The first word on the line is pligi, but the second word is Abai Amar. Okay, so what we learned before was a discussion regarding the opinion of Rabbi Elazar. Rabbi Elazar says that sometimes, in certain instances, when a mother animal is consecrated, but the mother animal isn't eligible because you needed a male animal and you consecrated a female animal, in certain cases, the offspring is brought, the male offspring is brought without having to sell it and use its money, but the actual animal itself, the actual offspring itself is brought as a sacrifice. Now that case, Rabbi Elazar said, was by an Eily. Someone consecrates the mother, and it has an offspring, the male offspring is brought. We learned that he does not say that by an Asham. Someone consecrates an Asham, and which also needs to be male, and it has an offspring. You don't bring the offspring, even if the offspring is going to be an Eily, but you don't bring that offspring. And then we also said that it could be what happens by a Temurah. Oh, by a Temurah it does work. By a Temurah would work. But okay, so we resolved that contradiction by saying that by an Eily, when he consecrated the mother, so even though the mother doesn't get holy fully, because it's the wrong animal, it's the wrong gender, but nevertheless there is such a thing as a female Eily. By an Eily Saif, a bird. By the birds we don't need a male or female. The gender is not critical. However, by an Asham we don't say that. By an Asham there's no such thing as a female Asham. So that being the case, that could be a difference between the Asham and the Eily. Why by the Asham, the offspring, you don't offer, you have to sell it, and then you have to get a new one. Why? Because there was no such thing when you consecrated the mother. There was no full consecration because the Asham doesn't. There's no such thing as a female Asham. Abaya asked, "Oh, Rabbi Elazar needs that the mother should be I'm sorry, it wasn't Abaya. Yeah, it was Abaya. Abaya asked, if there's no such thing." That the mother needs to have the title of that animal. I have a problem because by a Korban Pesach, it becomes a shlamim after Pesach. If you leave it, the animal, you don't bring it, and it's brought after Pesach, becomes a shlamim. If it has a child, Rabbi Elazar says that you bring it as a shlamim. Now let me ask you, this Korban Pesach that had a child, and you waited till after Pesach, the mother was a shlamim?
Right.
The mother wasn't a shlamim.
Korban Pesach was a male, no?
Yeah. Korban Pesach is supposed to be a male. If you consecrated a female, and then it has the offspring, and after Pesach you offer it up, after Pesach you want to offer it up. So we said that you can offer it up. The problem is that the mother is not a shlamim. Becomes a shlamim automatically. The mother isn't a shlamim. So what are you telling me that Rabbi Elazar holds that it's dependent on the mother's status? Like by an Eily, you could say that the mother has an Eily status because there's such a thing as an Eily that's a female. Now the truth is here, the mother wasn't even a shlamim at all. The mother was a Korban Pesach. So the last answer that we got was. The last answer that we got was from Rava, where Rava says it doesn't matter because a Pesach becomes naturally a shlamim. So a Pesach shlamim is interchangeable. The mother was a shlamim. And
why don't you use the pasuk? Excuse me, the one you can't have leftover after Pesach, and just interpret it to say, hey, I can't even check it afterwards.
The problem is Rabbi Elazar says that you can, that you bring it as a shlamim. So the Gemara says we had two cases. One case was that if it gave birth, then you bring it as a shlamim. That was the case that we're discussing. But what about what about if it gave birth before Pesach? Over there, Rabbi Elazar didn't say that you bring it as a shlamim. Because and the truth is, before Pesach, if you do slaughter it as a shlamim, it's kosher, if it's not in the right time. So, why doesn't Rabbi Elazar over there say also that you can just bring it as a shlamim? So, Rava said, yeah, it's true. If you brought it as a shlamim over there, it would also work. So again, we're talking about the offspring of a korban Pesach that was consecrated as a female korban Pesach. Rava, according to Rava, there's no difference. According to Rabbi Elazar, if it was slaughtered before Pesach or after Pesach. Abaya Amar Loi Polig. Abaya says that if it gave birth before Pesach, then Rabbi Elazar would agree that you don't offer it up as a shlamim. Why? Midi de Gemiri Lamakim Sha Moiser Hoilech Havlad Hoilech. Because Abaya holds like this: wherever an extra animal goes, that's where the offspring goes. So in other words, if you consecrate a korban, and for whatever reason you don't need that korban anymore, either because you brought another one or it was lost and then you found it, or whatever the case is, what do you do with that extra one? Whatever the halach is, what you do with that, that's what you do with an offspring of an animal as well. So, la'achar Pesach, the Meiser Karv Shlamim, after Pesach, if you have an extra animal of a korban Pesach, if you have one left over that wasn't offered, you bring it as a shlamim. So, Vlad Nami Karv Shlamim. That's why Rabbi Elazar said that the offspring is brought as a shlamim. Avalifnei Pesach. But before Pesach, what was the mother consecrated for? The mother was a female. What do you do with the female before? What do you do with the mother? Whatever you do with the extra mother, which you can't use as a korban Pesach, that's what you're going to do with the offspring. So before Pesach, the mother you're going to have to sell, or wait till it gets a mum, sell, and then use that money to bring a korban Pesach. So before Pesach, if it has an offspring, that's what you do with the offspring as well. You sell it and you bring another one. So that's an explanation why Rabbi Elazar didn't say that you bring the offspring before Pesach as a shlamim.
So this is a valid that's born after the animal was mekadosh?
Yeah.
Well, you just said, maybe I'm not understanding. Before Pesach scenario, you would sell the mother to take the money to buy another korban Pesach.
Yeah.
And if that mother also before Pesach had a blood,
you would do the
sell
same
the
thing.
Blood, and then you would end up
with
two
money.
korban Pesach.
Yeah, you would have to use it for whatever, but it would be money that's designated for a korban Pesach.
Okay, but you would only buy one korban Pesach to use, right? 'Cause
whatever you needed, right? So, Emel Mayaktisha Lidmei Pesach. So, Vlad Nami Lidmei Pesach. The offspring is also for the money of a Pesach. You'd buy a fancy korban Pesach. Organic. Organically fed. Okay. Free range,
from
Alaska.
no, what town did he go to get the korban?
Oh, yeah. Not from Hebron?
Hebron, yeah, the fat sheep.
Masav Rav Ukva Bar Chama. Rav Ukva Bar Chama has a question. This is the other son-in-law of Rav Chisda. Mi Amrinan, do we say Mi de Eme Lidmei, because the mother was there for the value? So Vlad Nami Lidmei, the offspring is also for the value. You see, Rav Chisda has a what do you call it, a line with spaced?
Jagged.
No, not jagged. Like the lines on the street, the white line,
Dotted line.
dotted line. See that? That means the daughter, Chisda's daughter.
Oh,
So there's two.
I was wondering again. As opposed to a straight
As
line,
opposed
which
to
would be the son.
a student.
Rami Bar Chama.
Rami Bar Chama and his brother, I think, is Marukva Bar Chama. Do you have Marukva Bar Chama there?
I don't see.
Oh, okay. Okay. He married the other daughter. Rami Bar Chama married the same daughter.
says here Rava.
Rava, the same one as. Okay. So, do we say this? Tanya, that was introducing a question. Do we say that we follow the whatever the mother does, that's what the offspring does?
Is this the one that said, I'll go first?
Yeah, Rami Barcham, I think. Rava said, I'll go second.
Okay.
Right. Tanya was studying Bais Mafresh Nekeva Pesach. Someone consecrates or separates a female animal for a korban Pesach. So if you notice, the language of this is slightly different than the Bais before. He of Ladiseh, it and its offspring, Yiruachi Yistavo. You have to wait till they get a mum. V'yimkru, and you sell it. V'yavi b'demei Pesach, and you bring a korban Pesach with the value. Rabbi Lazar Eimer, hu atzmi yakriv Pesach. You bring it for the korban Pesach. What are we talking about? The offspring. There's a problem here. Why? The mother. What are you going to do with the mother? You can only use the mother for the value of a korban Pesach. So that's what you have to do with the offspring. Why before did we say in one case where you can use the animal itself? That's because it was after Pesach. And the mother itself after Pesach would be a shlamim as well. But over here we're not talking about after Pesach, we're talking about before Pesach. And you're bringing it as a korban Pesach. How you bring it as a korban Pesach? You can only do with it what you do with the mother. The mother is only a value, you have to sell it. What do you mean over here where you bring the actual animal? V'amar Rabbi Lazar, hu atzmei korban Pesach. And Rabbi Lazar says that you bring the animal itself. And we don't establish it that it should be the same thing as its mother. Amar Ravina. Ravina gives us a very interesting answer. Very creative. The mafresh behima muberes askinan. Here we're dealing with where the animal was pregnant when it was consecrated. Now, and it goes like this. Rabbi Lazar savak Rabbi Yochanan damarim shira mashur. Tu belav yarach imayu. We look at the animal as two separate animals. There's the mother and then there's the fetus. So therefore, when you consecrated the animal, the mother becomes one status, and the offspring gets a different status. If you consecrated just the mother independently, and then it has the offspring, you would have to do with the offspring. Then it conceives, you would have to do with the offspring whatever you did with the mother. But over here, the fetus was there. So when you consecrated, you had specific things in mind. So, the mother doesn't get the full consecration. It only has a value. But the offspring does have the full sanctity, because it's two separate entities here. Like according to Rabbi Yochanan, you're allowed to consecrate just the fetus, or just the mother without the fetus. You had all of those options there. So here, you consecrated the whole thing. But because there's two separate things, so the child gets the kedusha of a korban, and the mother gets the kedusha of the value of a korban. Amalei Marzucha Breder of Marla Ravina, Marzucha Breder of Mari says to Ravina, Hachinam Mistabri, you're correct. And even if you look at the Bais, it actually fits perfectly. The Behim Muberes Askinan, that we're dealing with a pregnant animal. Why? Midiktani hi uvladisha. Because at the consecration it says it and its offspring. It was in the first brisa that we learned yesterday that we're comparing this to. It says Yalda, if it gives birth, then what you do with it. But here we're putting them all both in the same category. He of Ladiseh, the mother and its offspring. That means that it had an offspring already at the time that you separated. Offspring means the fetus. Okay. Amar Rabbi Yesi, a new case. Amar Rabbi Yesi Bar Chanina. Yosef Bar Chanina says, "Meider Rabbi Lazar b'mafresh nekeva l'Hashem dein b'nakarav Hashem." Rabbi Lazar would agree that if you consecrate a female animal for an Hashem, you don't bring the offspring as an Hashem. Now, Hashem needs to be a male. By an Eily, Rabbi Lazar held that you did. You do bring it for an Eily. By a korban Pesach, Rabbi Lazar held that you do bring the offspring for a korban Pesach in specific cases. But by an Asham, not. Gemara says, Pshita, this is obvious. Now, the explanation why this is obvious is because how are we able to say by an Eila that the offspring is an Eila? Because we said, look, the mother has a status of an Eila because a bird could be an Eila. A bird could be a female and it's still an Eila. But by an Asham, there's no such thing as a bird, the Asham. So there's no, the whole thing doesn't make sense. There's no status of a female Asham. That doesn't exist. So obviously, the offspring that comes from it is not brought as an Asham. The whole mother sanctity is only for the value. So therefore the offspring also is only the value. So the Gemara asks Peter, this is obvious. What do I need Rabbi to tell this to me? It says, Ad kan lekam Rabbi Lazar ela b'mafresh nekeva laila dikashem laila alimai. We only needed Rabbi Lazar. We only knew Rabbi Lazar says this by an Eila, because the mother has a status of an Eila. Abel gabi mafresh nekeva lasham. But if someone, this is all the continuation of the question. But by an asham, if someone consecrates an asham, a female asham, the mother has no status of an asham. There's no such thing as a female asham. I feel Rabbi Lazar might like asham, even Rabbi Lazar would agree. In other words, we knew this already. Gemara explains, Ilav dashmina, and if not for Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina, Hava Amina, I would have thought, time the Rabbi Lazar lav mishum d'shem ma'alalim. I would have thought the reason for Rabbi Lazar is not because the mother could have been an Eila if it would have been a bird, not because of that. I would have thought that it just has to do with is the offspring eligible. Now the offspring of an Eila is eligible, so I should bring it, just like by a Korban Pesach. That we had the offspring was eligible for a Korban Pesach when we brought the offspring. We didn't have to sell it. So I would have thought the same thing by an Asham. And I wouldn't have known that the big deal here is that I needed to have the mother's status to have that possibility of it being a female Eila. I would have thought that the offspring is eligible to be offered. The offspring of the Asham is a male, right? The mother wasn't eligible, the child is eligible. And I would have thought that you brought it. So Kamashmal and Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina, that the whole point is only that the mothers needed to have a status of an Eila as well. And by an Asham, the mother doesn't have a status of an Asham, so I can't bring the offspring. Ihachi, if that's the case, then Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina could have told us a bigger chiddush. In other words, if it doesn't have to do with the eligibility of the offspring, it has to do with the status of the mother, then what happens to an extra Asham? It turns into an Eila. So Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina says that the offspring of an Asham is not brought as an Asham, it has to be sold. Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina could have told me a bigger chiddush. The offspring of the Asham is not brought out as an Eila. Why? Because the mother Asham never had a status of an Eila. You know, if the big deal here is the mother, is the yichus of this animal, so then he could have said a bigger chiddush that in certain cases an offspring of an Eila is brought. In this case, the offspring is not brought as an Eila because the mother was never an Eila. The mother was an Asham. Remember, Asham turns into an Eila if it's an extra.
Yeah, so, but that doesn't make sense. It's a Kavachomer. I mean, over there where they weren't related and you just did
Right.
Temurah, the Asham replacement turned into
Right.
an Ola. Here, where there's a genetic, you're saying you can't?
Here what we're saying is that if we're dealing with the eligibility of the offspring, so then there's no difference between an Asham and an Eila. The offspring in both cases is eligible, right? They're both male, but once we're talking about that it's not you can't bring it. If you're saying that you can't bring it, and the reason why you can't bring it is because the mother was never an Eila. So if the offspring is being brought as an Asham, I can't bring it because the mother wasn't eligible, wasn't an Asham. It wasn't. There's no such thing as a female Asham. But even if I'm bringing the offspring as an Eila, the mother wasn't an Eila or an Asham. There's no such thing as a female Asham, and it was never consecrated as an Eila. So I can't even bring the offspring as an Eila, even though in many cases, in a certain case, the offspring could be brought as an Eila. So Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina could have told me a bigger chiddush.
But why couldn't he come as like a Temurah? I mean, independent of the mother. It's the old case. that case, nobody asked its lineage of what its mother was. You just
Yeah, because the Temurah is different. The Temurah is I'm consecrating it right here. Here, you set a certain level of holiness onto the mother. Now you're expecting that holiness to spread naturally over to the offspring. And the question is, the offspring has more potential than the mother had. Does the offspring get this extra potential that was never in the mother? You follow? So the offspring could be offered as a sacrifice. The mother only had the potential for value, to be sold, and then this. So if we're making a big deal that the mother's potential is what determines the offspring, what status of holiness it has, so then we could have said even if the offspring was going to be used as an Eily because we had a different asham and this is left over and the extra asham is brought as an Eily. So Yahachi Adam Ashmalan Dein Ben Akaravasham Nishmin Dein Ben Akaravayla Vuadin Lasham automatically. If you can't bring it as an Eily, we would have known automatically that you can't bring it as an asham. The Gemara answers Yashmin an Eily. If you would have said that the offspring can't be an Eily, Hava Amina Eily Hudalei Karva. Would have thought that you only don't bring it as an Eily. Layakdish Alima Kedusha. What's that word? Ubra. You take out that word. Because the mother wasn't consecrated with that holiness. Avalasham, Ema Vlad Karavasham. Could have thought, why don't you bring it as an Eily? Well, you never consecrated the mother as an Eily, so you can't bring the offspring as an Eily. But the mother was consecrated as an asham. So I would have thought an Eily you don't bring it, but an asham you could bring it. So Kamash Malan comes to tell me that you don't bring it as an asham. I could have thought that there was a leniency, in the. I could have thought that it was more possible to bring it as an asham than an Eily. We were thinking that the possibility of bringing it as an asham is much higher. And if you can't bring it as an asham, for sure you can't bring possibility of bringing it as an Eily is much higher. And if you can't bring it as an Eily, for sure you can't bring it as an asham. The Gemara answers that no. I could have thought that you can't bring it as an Eily, but you could bring it as an asham. So Bais tells me you can't bring it as an asham. Okay.
I'm using the Gemara Ways, and I got a pop-up box that said, "Forget about it. This is too confusing."
An alternate route has been found. Right? The next piece could be a little easier. There's a Mishnah.
I'm sorry, just before this morning I was trying to find on the computer, and I was trying to find on the computer a list of all the korbanos, and what's mailed from there, and I couldn't. Is that somewhere that you know offhand? Because I think that might be helpful if I print it out.
In the Gutnik Chumash, around Vayikra, or in the back, if you have a one volume one, there's a chart over there, and I think in the back of the art scroll there's also a chart.
Okay. No, because I'll try and find that maybe just so we can have it in the class to refer to Wikipedia. It wasn't in Wikipedia.
Okay, next Mishnah. It says Hamafresh Nekevel Hashem. We've been quoting this case. If someone consecrates a female animal as an asham, which it can't be, asham can't be female. So Tirachi touch it to stove. You let it graze until it gets a mum. V'timacher, then you sell it. You have a bit of asham, and then you buy a male animal. You bring it as asham. What happens? V'im karav hashamai. He brought another animal as an asham in the interim while he had to fix up this mess while it's waiting to get a mum and selling it and buying a new one. He brought another animal. He wanted to get it over with. So then Yiplu Damav l'Nedava. He has this extra money. The extra money goes to the Nedava. Nedava means that it gets put into this shayfar, this charity box in the temple, and when the altar is empty, they bring sacrifices, just to keep it busy. Reb Shimon says Timachar Shalei B'mum. Shimon says, why do you have to wait for it to graze and get a mum? What's the problem? It's a female animal. This is not politically correct, but Reb Shimon says it has the biggest mum possible. It's a female. Now, what it means is it's a mum for legabe this carbon. It can't be offered as a korban. Well, you're waiting for it to get a little cut on the eye or something around the lip. That's what you're waiting for? It's a female. So you just go ahead directly and sell it. The Gemara asks now on the Tanakama, why do you need it to wait to get a mum? Timacher. Just sell it. Reb Shimon's logic is the Gemara is using that to ask on the Tanakama. You can't offer it. That's a mum. What is a mum? A blemish. It means you can't offer it. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav. Rav Yehuda says in the name of Rav an answer. Hainu tam. The reason why you can't do this is because damrinun migu de nachsala kedushas damim nachsala nami kedushas aguf. Here's the logic. Rav Yehuda Amar Rav holds that when you put holiness on an animal, the animal swells with that holiness as much as it can absorb. Okay, figuratively swells.
It's an animal from Chernobyl.
So it absorbs as much holiness as possible. Now, what happens when you have an animal that's not eligible to be offered as a sacrifice, but it has the holiness of a sacrifice? Well, in that case, you have to wait till it gets a mum. So here, we have an animal that's not eligible. Why? Because it's a female animal. So I know that I'm going to need to sell it and use its money. But Rav Yehuda Amar Rav says that it absorbs more holiness than just selling it and using the money. It absorbs the amount of holiness as if it would be a sacrifice that requires a mum, and then you can sell it. So here also, it absorbs this holiness. It's not just kedushas damim. It absorbs a kedushas aguf to the extent that it needs a mum, and then you sell it. That's the.
That's consistent with everything we've talked about today. The idea that if you attempt to makadeh something that's inappropriate for that sacrifice, something happens.
Right.
It's not totally ineffective.
Right.
Something happened. You can't just throw it out then.
Right. It could be that the original question here was not. I was explaining it that Reb Shimon's logic is being asked on the Tanakama. It could be that the question was stronger than just Reb Shimon. Reb Shimon saying, look, it has a mum. Just take it as a mum. The Gemara's original question is, you only consecrated it for its value. Why are you making a big deal about giving it a mum? It's only holy at its value level. The Gemara's answering that no, you consecrate it at its value, but it swells with more holiness than what you put on it. Because wherever it can fill in, the holiness is going to go into that, the holiness is going to get deeper than what you actually put on it.
It seems to me, I don't know if I'm having an epiphany or I'm like in left field, but for the first time, I'm kind of looking at Karbanis as the cross between material and spiritual, because we're actually talking about material items gaining even more spirituality within the material.
Right.
And that's just
right.
In general something, you're either material, or even though we try and make material spiritual, that whole jazz. But I'm just actually here, we're talking about both at the same time.
Well, that's supposed to be the ultimate of elevation, of where you take something physical and make it spin.
An animal that develops a mum, can that animal ever return back to an animal that's capable to be sacrificed if the mum heals?
Yeah, if the mum heals, yeah. While it has a mum, no, but a mum that's a temporary mum that heals is eligible.
So my question is, how can you bring in a connection between that and a female? That female status that's quote unquote a mum will never go away.
Right. So the example is that we weren't talking about, we're not waiting for it to get a mum that's temporary. We're waiting for it to get a permanent mum that will never heal, just like the female. So that's where Shimon says, what's the difference? This will never go away, that will never go away. Amar Rava. Rava says, based on what we just learned from Rabbi Yehuda Amar Rav, Zoisei Meres, this tells me that Hikdish Zachar Ladamav, let's say a person takes a male animal, which is supposed to be used as a sacrifice, but instead he consecrates it only to the level of value. He says, this is holy, the value of this is holy, which means he's going to need to sell it and buy another one. What really happens, Rava says, is Kaddish Kaddish Zaguf, it becomes so holy that you can bring it itself as a sacrifice. Why? because the animal swells with whatever holiness it's possible for it to absorb, even though you only put on it value, the value holiness, it becomes intrinsically holy that you can offer it up. Itmar. It's a statement of Amiram. Hiktir zach ledamav. Someone consecrates a male for only its value, and it's eligible to be a real carbon. Rav Kana Makadosh Kedush Zaguf. Rav Kana says it becomes holy. And Rava Amar Eina Kadosh Kedush Zaguf. Rava says it doesn't become holy. Well, this seems to contradict what Rava just said before. Rava says it does become holy as a sacrifice. The Gemara explains, V'hadabei Rava lid Rav Kana. Rava changed his mind to Rav Kana. Why? Mid Rav Yehuda Marav. In other words, this Itmar was stated before he heard Rav Yehuda Marav. He thought that you can consecrate a male animal only for its value. Then he hears Rav Yehuda Marav that says you have to wait for the mother animal to get a mum. Not a mother, but a female animal to get a mum, and then you have to sell it. Why do you have to wait for it to get a mum? You only consecrate it for its value. No, it gets more holiness than just what you consecrated it for. So therefore, Rabbi changed his mind and says that if you consecrate a male animal only for its value, it gets the holiness of a carbon. Okay. Reb Shimon says, Timachar shlei b'mum, you sell it without a blemish because it already has a blemish. Amalei Reb Chia bar Ravin Rabbi Yochanan. Reb Chia bar Ravin says to Rabbi Yochanan, what's that in the words? Reb Shimon, according to Reb Shimon, Migu denachslei kedushas damim techslei nami kedushas aguf. Why don't we say what the Chachamim say, what the Tanakama says, that once it gets the holiness, any holiness